In this video, I'm going to show you how the new version of Rufus 4.15 works and where to get it. Let's begin. Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to show you is how to get the .exe file in your web browser. So you're going to open up any web browser of your choice. I'm going to use Google Chrome. Then, in the search bar, you're going to type in Rufus. Then look for a heading which says Rufus, create bootable USB drives the easy way. And make sure that you go to the official website, as downloading the specific exe file from any other site might put your computer at risk of getting viruses. After clicking on the link, you're going to scroll down. Then there's going to be different versions in which you can download. There's the standard one, and then there's the portable one. Then we have the 64 bits, 86, and ARM64. Choose whichever one which is suited for your computer. Bear in mind that in order for this exe file to work, you need Windows 8 or later. So after you find the one that is suited for your computer, simply select it. Then you'll be prompted to save it in a specific location. I'm going to save it in music. Once you're done, select Save. And if you go to the top right, you will notice that it has been downloaded. And here's the exe file. Simply double-click on it. Now, the great thing about Rufus is that it is not a huge application in which you need to double-click and then install a bunch of heavy files. Instead, you just simply need to download an exe file that can be run on your system right away, and it's only about 1 or 2 megabytes. So let's head over to the updates of this version, 4.15. So RISC-V64 support has been added for UEFI and TFS. This update includes the improvements of the guards for using the silent Windows installation option. It has improved the ability to cancel during write retries. It has improved progress reporting for compressed image extraction. It has fixed unrestricted XML entity expansion and integer overflow in EasyXML parser. And it has fixed the issue of the program being silent when it has failed at 75% when installing Windows. It has also fixed a crash during boot when using UEFI and TFS on Snapdragon X based on ARM64 platforms. And it has also fixed that issue where the WUE option would always be checked by default. This update also includes a fix that fixes an infinite loop when using Windows iOSs that contain multiple WIMs. So there have been a couple of issues where the option which says Enable Runtime UEFI Media Validation checkbox was not always properly enabled. They have fixed that in the specific update. So since we have the window open, I'm going to explain the main functions. Drive properties. This is the section where you select your target USB drive and tell Rufus what kind of bootable environment you are trying to create. So if you go to the heading called Device, you're going to see a drop-down option which lists all the storage devices that are connected to your computer, like your USB flash drive and so on. So I have my USB connected and it has space of 16 gigabytes. Then we move on to boot selection. If you select the drop-down option, you're going to have non-bootable, disk or ISO image, MS-DOS, or FreeDOS. This basically tells Rufus what type of bootable media you are trying to create. The default is usually disk or ISO image for installing Windows or Linux. You can go to the right side and click this button which says Select. After clicking Select, it's going to open up a second window in which you need to find an ISO image. So if you go to the right side here, you're going to see a checkmark icon. So this basically allows you to compute the MD5, SHA1, and SHA256 checksums of an ISO to verify the file isn't corrupted. So if we go to Partition Scheme, this defines how the storage space on the USB drive is structured. It is crucial for compatibility with your computer's motherboard. The MBR is the master boot record used for older legacy BIOS systems. Then GPT, the GUID partition table, the modern standard required for most newer computers that use UEFI. And last but not least, Super Floppy Disk. Then we move on to Target System. This field automatically adjusts based on your chosen partition scheme. It specifies the firmware type of the computer you intend to boot the USB on. And there are other advanced drive properties, such as list USB hard drives by simply clicking on it to check the checkbox. Add fixes for old BIOSs, extra partition, align, etc. And lastly, enable runtime UEFI media validation. Then we move on to format options. This section controls how the USB drive will be wiped and formatted before the bootable files are copied over. So volume label, it is a simple text field where you can name your USB drive, such as Windows 11 setup or Ubuntu and so on. Then we have file system. This dictates the architectural formats of the drive. Rufus typically auto-selects the correct file system based on the ISO you selected. Then we have cluster size. This defines the smallest block of space used to store data on the drive. It is highly recommended to leave this on the default setting Rufus provides. Then we have other things such as advanced format options like quick format, which simply wipes the file table rather than erasing every sector, and checking the device for physical bad blocks. Then we have the status area and the status bar. So once we click start, this is going to turn into a green progress bar showing exactly what Rufus is doing, such as formatting, copying files, and installing bootloaders. So if you are planning on downloading Windows or Ubuntu, you can simply go to your web browser and then go to things such as Windows, then you scroll, and then look for download Windows 7, 8, 10, 11 disk image, which is ISO. Then select confirm. Then you can choose a language and click 64-bit download. Then you have to choose an area where you want to save it. So once it is done downloading, you'll go back to Rufus, then you're going to go to select, then go to the area where you saved your Windows or Ubuntu ISO file. Okay, so I saved it in the music area and here it is. You're simply going to double click on it or simply click, then select open. It will then show Windows 11 under boot selection. So head over to the bottom and choose start. There will be a separate window that's going to open. So there are various options and I'm going to explain each and every single one of them. The Windows user experience. These options allow Rufus to modify the Windows installation files on the fly, automating parts of the setup process and bypassing several of Microsoft's built-in restrictions before you even boot from the USB. So the first one, remove requirements for 4GB plus RAM, secure boots, and TPM 2.0. So Windows 11 has strict hardware requirements that prevent it from installing on older computers. Checking this box tells Rufus to inject registry keys into the installer that bypass these checks, allowing Windows 11 to be installed on officially unsupported hardware. And the second one, remove requirements for an online Microsoft account. By default, modern Windows 11 setups force you to connect to the internet and sign in with a Microsoft account. This option modifies the installation so you can easily create a standard offline local account instead. Then the third option, create a local account with username, which is quite self-explanatory, meaning that you can create an account with a specific username. So if you want to create a custom username for your local account, simply click on it, the checkbox, and change the name to whatever you like. So the set regional options part, if checked, Rufus copies the current language, time zone, and keyboard layout from the PC you're currently using to the USB drive. This means Windows won't ask you to select these settings during installation. Then it says disable data collection. During standard Windows installation, you're presented with several screens asking you to enable location tracking, diagnostic data, and personalized ads. This option automatically answers no to all telemetry and privacy prompts, speeding up the installation and increasing your privacy out of the box. Then the disable BitLocker automatic device encryption. On supported modern hardware, Windows 11 will often automatically encrypt your main drive using BitLocker in the background. Checking this prevents that automatic encryption, which is useful if you want to avoid potential performance hits or don't want to risk losing your data if you lose your recovery key. Then QoL improvements. This implements a series of quality of life registry tweaks. It prevents Windows from aggressively pinning and forcing its native cloud services and AI tools. It also disables fast startup, a power state that can sometimes cause driver instability or issues if you're dual booting with Linux. Then we have Use Windows CA 2023 Signed Bootloaders. Microsoft periodically updates the digital certificates used for secure boot. This option forces the USB to use the newer 2023 certificate instead of the older 2011 one. Bear in mind, you should only check this option if your computer's motherboard BIOS is fully up to date. Otherwise, the USB might fail to boot. Then lastly, we have this option. This is a highly specific fix for Microsoft security update that revoked older boot managers. Checking this applies a policy file that ensures the freshly installed operating system won't immediately hit a secure boot violation block when it restarts. And once you selected what you wanted to use, I'm going to use these two at the very beginning. Simply select OK. And there's going to be a warning that pops up which tells you that once this operation continues, it's going to completely wipe your USB drive. So bear in mind to back up all of your files. So select OK. Once we go back to the main window and we go to Status, you will see an area which says Copying ISO files, and then it's going to give you a percentage. So you can come back a few minutes later once it is finished. Afterwards, the status bar is going to say Ready. So we are going to minimize this window, and then we are going to open up our File Explorer. This is going to be the name of our drive, since we formatted it using Rufus, and if I double tap on it, the setup.exe is going to be here, and then you can simply install Windows 11. That's it.